watching from Nyeri there, who says that I need to pass my greetings to Jane. Well, I hope Jane, you received those greetings. Yeah, there she
yeah.
She just pulled that one. I didn't expect her. Ati umesema nini, Jane? Now that we can see, what have you done?
Okay.
My tongue is so heavy, I can't repeat that lest I swallow it and yet we have a bulletin to go through and broadcast. Yes, so please understand what one Meru.
Heavy tongue.
Tunabeba uzito. Anyway, now
say that again.
Wakona uzito.
Tunabeba uzito. Ngumi yetu ni ngumu, ni heavy. Anyway, now.
I swear if you use to talk like that.
Kwe break Fadhili ama. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about. No, let's go serious. But it's true.
I wouldn't take you seriously.
It is true. Our tongue is very heavy.
Mtu hataezi amini ni wewe.
Unakumrembo hivyo.
Lakini ulimi umekataa.
My tongue is very heavy, very heavy. Mbaba uzito. Mimi niko na mbevu, kuja na ndri. Anyway, anywho. Now, I don't know how to, I think we need, Mimi says, okay, what's your name?
Okay, fine, let's get serious.
Yes, I'm the serious one in this tripartite.
You are?
Yes, so okay. Yeah, serious. Let's adjust our coats, please. Yeah. Tuko serious sasa?
I
have 2 copies of the dailies here. Fadhili, I think you need to censure Jane here and Doreen to the headlines. Okay, fine. It's not my fault that my tongue is heavy. Come on. Tunaanza na standard. This is how it looks like. And I know Marians, the American, feel me. You know, mnajua venye kunaendanga. It's a struggle that we need to be proper for broadcast presentation. We need to rein in on our American kind of accent. Tumetoka mbali. Sawa, bukuigwa? Aya, sawa, twende. Now, standard, that's how it looks like. Fallout gets messy there. NASA implosion. This follows the removal of Cleopas Malala at the Senate as the Senate Deputy Minority Leader by Raila Odinga's Orange Party that has continued to cause a storm from other NASA partners. You remember some 3 weeks back on social media, the former premier put out a tweet that was really trending. Nasema bado jina chekucheka. Yes, it was quite trending there and saying, okay, where were you when I was told that, you know, it's a matter of security when I swore myself in or I was sworn in as a people's president? Where were you? Where were you? Now, this fallout is getting messy. Cleopas Malala shown the door there. Let me quote what Moses Wetangula, Senator Moses Wetangula had to say. I condemn the removal of Malala as Senate Deputy Minority Leader. It is selfish, unhelpful, unlawful, vindicative, intolerant, vengeful, and against the NASA coalition agreement. It is a direct link to the outcome of the Matungu by-election. Did I say vengeful, selfish, intolerant, and vindictive? That is what Senator Moses Wetangula had to say following the ouster of Cleopas Malala as the Senate Deputy Minority Leader by Orange Party now. Things are getting messy, as we say in politics. A day is quite a long time. That's where we are in regard to that matter. Main story there on today's copy of The Standard. And also matters of COVID-19. Now we have a Russian vaccine that has arrived, and so many questions are coming up. There's the issue of, you know, the slow uptake, the disarray as far as the vaccine rollout is concerned, and we're talking about the AstraZeneca one. And now, debates, you know, on how this Russian jab got to the country, was brought into the country, and the prices set. Money issues. Front page of The Standard this morning. Back page, about that particular match I told you about, where we need to pray because we are playing today. And we are playing Egypt. And this is going to happen at 7 p.m. tonight. And guess what? KBC Channel 1, being your true sports partner, is going to be televising this match live. So make a date, 7 p.m. This is a place to be. Harambee Stars will be taking on African giants, Egypt. And this is a crucial Group G fixture for the 2021 African Cup of Nations qualifier at the Kasarani Stadium tonight. We'll be there, so make a date. Besides, there's curfew. Where else would you be? Watching KBC Channel 1. Let's look at the Star. Surprisingly very light today. I don't know what happened. But nonetheless, let's look at what they have chosen to give precedence. Matters of COVID-19 taking center stage there. We see Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka receiving the AstraZeneca jab at Parliament yesterday. And also matters of politics now focusing on UDA. Now, Ruto linked UDA party to give Hustler key positions. Okay. We'll be giving you details as we continue in the headlines. And that particular story about fury as Kisumu County askaris drag a woman on the tarmac has also found itself on the front page of today's issue of The Star.
Let's now get to have a look at what the Daily Nation has for us this morning. The front page is so busy, but starting with, again, that conversation about the Russian vaccine and questions about its safety is what health experts are wondering about, with two critical health ministry agencies that are clueless as it emerges that the Russian vaccine is available in the country, and some private hospitals in Kenya are already administering it at a cost of 8,000 Kenya shillings. And mind you, looking at this vaccine journey, Russia was actually the first country globally to go to market with this particular vaccine after it had undergone about a two-month testing period, and they did say that it had an efficacy of 90% when they were going to market with it. So how has it found its way into the Kenyan space? We'll be looking at this particular story in a bit. Coming to some politics is, of course, this conversation about Malala being kicked out and the Raila party rocks Uhuru coalition plan. And, of course, he was accused of being disloyal to ODM party leader. We'll be giving you details in a bit. But looking at the COVID situation, we all know the country is in a state of crisis when it comes to ICU beds. But in Mombasa, it's actually the opposite, as Mombasa has empty ICU beds. In as much as the country is having a crisis, in Mombasa, facilities remain almost empty. And by Saturday, this past Saturday, only 8 patients had been admitted on oxygen support at the county's less than 30 ICU beds. And looking at the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital, only 2 patients had been admitted in the ICU. So what is happening? In Mombasa, they have empty ICU beds, while the rest of the country, and looking at Nairobi, which is at the lead when it comes to this shortage of ICU beds, it's a crisis. So that is what is happening in terms of COVID and ICU. And finally, looking at Magoha's watch list on exam cheating, 30 schools have been placed under watch. We'll be giving you details in a bit. Doreen.
And now 14 days ultimatum is what the Interior Ministry is giving UNHCR to close the Dadaab and Kakuma camps there, citing issues of terror threats, also saying that Kenya and Somalia do not have any diplomatic relations. And this becomes the third time where the Kenyan government is trying to close these camps. The first time was in 2016 during the time where Joseph Kaiseri was the then CS for Interior. The second time was during the Dusit D2 attack in 2019. So this becomes the third time where they are planning, or where they want rather, these 2 camps to be closed. Also, again, the issues of security really dominating that particular closure. So will actually this comes close within the next 14 days? Because part of what the CS mentioned is that there is no room for further negotiations. They need to come up with a roadmap to facilitate and necessitate that. Again, also politics dominating the PD this morning, and this is in respect to Senator Cleopas Malala being ejected from the position of Deputy Minority Leader, being replaced by Stewart Mazayo, that is the Kilifi Senator. And this move did not sit well with the rest of the NASA affiliates, especially those coming from the ANC party, whereby also yesterday on his Twitter account, that is the ANC party leader, saying that this move perhaps comes at a time because of the senator just being at the forefront there, campaigning for the Matungu party candidate who won the Matungu by-election, saying that it was a move which is not fair and wasn't done in the right way. But also the ODM says that this is because of misconduct from the senator there. So, which way in regards to how they are, or better still, how they asked the Kakamega senator. Away from politics to matters education, whereby it is all systems go as it pertains to KCSE. Remember that KCP ended yesterday, and what the CS Magoha is now saying is rather he actually warned officials, especially those coming from the Nyanza region, who he said were planning to compromise the integrity of these exams. He warned against that. Remember that he's so big on the issue of curbing exam cheating. But also I'll be giving you more details in regards to this particular story, given the fact that also there have been funds which have been disbursed at least to facilitate and aid in that. Coming to matters COVID-19, where experts give grim COVID projections. In fact, also part of what they are saying is that during Easter, which is next weekend, we should brace ourselves for perhaps more tougher measures. Which tougher measures are this? Details of that in a short while. We now want to take a very short break. On the other side, we'll be coming to tell you more of what is inside the different dailies that we have today.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mlitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduzi ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua free. Shilingi mbili unaweza nunua micro. Shilingi tano unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
It's very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I am too young and handsome to die at this age. You are never driving me again in your vehicle. You almost made me puke my intestine.
Hi, Farah, come on. What do you expect from us?
Jesse, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. That doesn't look like nothing.
But that is what my heart is telling me too.
You better tell your heart to shut up.
Mama Kenyanjui, you're back, eh?
Kwani nilikuwa nikuja nikutafute nikuberuza.
I see what is happening here. Like mother, like son. Opportunistic people.
This is enough. Please.
Out. Tukahutiwe. I will report you to women rights.
Go ahead. Report. Iko nini?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
That you would consider me for a job at your company.
On the contrary, I feel honored to bring you on board.
But I can't accept, sir.
That doesn't turn her into the queen of the house. Even if she feels like she is, she should know that in this castle there's also a princess.
I would love to have that person in front of me so I could tell him never to mess with me.
I want you to take my foolish son's old job. What do you think?
You're still watching Good Morning Kenya, and now we're giving you details of those stories that have been making headlines. And we start off with matters of security, where 2 people died and 10 others were injured after a bus they were traveling in hit an IED in Korome, Mandera County. Now, 10 other people were also injured and are fighting for their lives at various hospitals in the county. Here's a detailed report by Jacqueline Wambiro.
6 of those injured are said to be in critical condition, and plans are underway to airlift them to Nairobi for further treatment, while the other 4 are in stable condition and are receiving treatment at Mandera Referral Hospital.
Out of the 40 people that are in the bus, 2 have lost their life, and it has been confirmed. And 10 people are seriously injured, and we are waiting for referral. And in the next couple of hours, we will take them to Nairobi, inshallah.
Mandera County Governor Ali Roba condemned the incident, calling on the residents to join forces with the government to curb terror attack in the border region.
I would like to request our public to also understand that we have a role to play, particularly in the common surveillance and reporting. Please do not get frustrated and tired of reporting any suspicious security-related incidences to facilitate a swift response from our security personnel.
Local leaders called on security agents to scale up security along the Kenya-Somalia border route.
Kawaida, wakati tulipata hiyo habari, maafisa wetu wa polisi, wa GSU, PPU na jeshi walienda kwa hiyo mahali, na mimi nafikiri vile nimesema hata wafanya nini tutakuja tutapata watu.
The bus attack occurred barely 3 months after another landmine attack. Meanwhile, Kenya has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to provide a roadmap for the closure of Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps. In his Twitter handle, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i stated that there will be no room for further negotiations after the Tuesday meeting with UNHCR officials. The 2 refugee camps are home to thousands of refugees in Somalia and other neighboring countries.
All right, let's now move on to some bit of COVID-19 conversations. And we start with this story that is actually the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation in regards to the Russian vaccine and its safety concerns. So this is information from both the ministry representatives from the Ministry of Health and also an unnamed official from the Poison Board and the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. And getting to the details is that there are 2 ministries of health agencies that have denied authorizing the use of the Russian-made COVID-19 vaccine, that is the Sputnik 5, into some private hospitals, as has been seen. And they were citing issues to do with the safetiness of this particular jab, and especially to the public who have already started getting injections. And this information also coming from the head of immunization at the ministry, that is Dr. Collins Atabu, saying that they were not even aware that the vaccine was in the Kenyan space, in as much as the Pharmacy and Poisons Board say that it had approved its importation but not its distribution. And this was confirmed by an unnamed official from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. And looking at some health facilities, and this is in the private sector, and they've gone ahead to name one here This is the Nanyuki Cottage Hospital that by yesterday had already started registering Kenyans for the uptake of this particular vaccine that would cost an estimated 8,000 Kenya shillings. And the World Health Organization has not yet given the Sputnik 5 vaccine the emergency authorization use, because that is what the AstraZeneca is under, which is why we are using it as a country. It has been given the emergency authorization use. And according to the World Health Organization, the Sputnik 5 vaccine from Russia does not have this authorization. Again, the Pharmacies and Poisons Board did say that they did approve the importation but not the distribution of this particular vaccine. And representatives from the ministry also say that this vaccine poses a higher risk when it comes to allergies, because it is also administered in 2 doses that are 21 days apart. And looking at the AstraZeneca vaccine, it also it's administered in 2 doses, but given 8 to 12 weeks apart due to safety concerns. So that is one of the other biggest reasons as to why the ministry has disassociated itself from this particular vaccine. And of course, investigations are underway, just trying to understand how it got into the Kenyan market to the distribution point. And still looking at matters COVID-19 is that we all know the country is in a state of crisis due to the shortage and lack thereof of ICU beds, mostly in the COVID-19 units across the country. But in Mombasa, the conversation is completely different as we are in this 3rd wave. We are seeing COVID-19 patients scrambling for ICU beds, but in Mombasa, the beds remain empty, given it has an estimated less than 30 ICU beds as a county. And by this past Saturday, according to this piece, only 8 patients were admitted to hospitals on oxygen support. And just looking at the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital, they only had 2 patients that were admitted in the ICU units. Again, raising questions of why so many other counties are struggling, while a county like Mombasa, they say no COVID-19 patient was on ventilators by press time, and the current admission stands at 40, with Shimo La Tewa Maximum Prison having the highest number of patients, and that is 15. Mombasa governor cited the facility cited that a county facility with 12 ICU beds, which is currently 50% full. So, of course, this is good news, at least for our Mombasa County brothers and sisters. But then again, it goes back to the conversation of county preparedness. How prepared were we when it came to addressing concerns that would in turn be in line with making sure that COVID-19 patients are attended to and we don't have a crisis when it comes to bed availability in the ICU units. Ray.
Now, talking about matters of COVID-19, our state of preparedness, and when it comes to matters of capacity, how we are handling it and where we're failing. Also, a report that was made public yesterday in a conference in Kisumu County indicated that COVID-19 has subjected women and girls to a new form of socialization that negatively affected them and subjected them to vicious cycle of domestic and gender-based violence. Now, for Kisumu County alone, more than 10,000 cases were reported with the onset of COVID-19, with women being victims in 70% of these particular cases. Just to give you an overview, when you talk about COVID-19 disruptions, we're not just talking about, its effect on the economy, businesses and such, but also we are looking at the impact it has had on the socio-economic development angle, not just matters of macro or micro economy. Now, talking about the issue of the vaccine, just to set it clear, is that Dr. Willis Akwale, the head of the task force on COVID-19, has said private farms, yes, can bring in vaccines, and confirmed that there are other vaccines that are waiting authorization. So, but as government, government is not going to be buying from this local distributors, but it is open for partnerships with the private sector. and it will not be buying the Sputnik 5 because it has not been authorized by the WHO. Now, coming back to that issue of capacity. So yesterday, there was a bit of a boost in as far as, hospital equipment is concerned. Now, 14 counties, as a report prepared by Beatrice Gatonye indicates, that 14 counties will receive 10 locally assembled hospital beds as the government seeks now to encourage local innovators. And this is not according to none other than the Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Minor. Here are the details of this particular report by Beatrice Gatonye.
The country's healthcare system is now stretched to its limit, with the Ministry of Health warning that Kenya was running out of ICU beds. Patients in critical condition in need of ICU beds are facing a nightmare as many hospitals remained filled to capacity. Health CAS Mercy Mwangangi warning that the country was staring at unforeseen future, with the positivity rate remaining high at 16.5%.
We note that the last few days have been particularly disheartening, with a really high positivity rate that has remained so, and with hospitalizations that have also continued to rise. Some of our counties have particularly been hard hit compared to others. Nairobi's contribution to the positivity is staggering, fellow Kenyans, and stands at close to 57.7%. And that is very high and disheartening, as we've said.
In the last 24 hours, the country confirmed 1,540 new cases from 9,348 samples tested. In the same period, Kenya lost 18 people to COVID-19 related complications, taking the country's death toll to 2,066. Mwangangi is warning against laxity in adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocols.
We need to have our guard high. We've seen people exercising laxity when it comes to these COVID adherence measures. And it's really disheartening, because if you're standing here as we are right now, then you'd be seeing the really true picture that is happening in our hospitals, to the point where people are missing beds right now in ICU units. And so we need to really stand guard and ensure we adhere to these containment measures.
In the meantime, the ministry has dismissed claims of the commercial sale of the Russian Sputnik 5 COVID-19 vaccine.
We have seen those adverts. Those adverts are false. There's no current pharmacy or hospital in the country that has a Sputnik 5 vaccine with them. And through the emergency market authorization, it is actually illegal for a facility to advertise and to say that it has that commodity.
Mwangangi was speaking as the world marked World TB Day, saying that the fear of contracting COVID-19 has prevented those with the disease from seeking medical help.
Fellow Kenyans, as we battle another wave of COVID-19 pandemic, we must not forget the risks posed by the disease to those of us who have underlying conditions. Those with respiratory challenges could potentially suffer the most if exposed to the COVID-19 virus. And we must bear this in mind as we mark this year's World Tuberculosis Day today. This year's theme of World TB Day calls for equitable access to prevention, treatment, and care in line with WHO's drive towards achieving universal health coverage. We have domesticated the theme to reflect Kenya's goals and targets. And our theme for Kenya is "The clock is ticking. It is time to end TB in Kenya." And we have a tagline which says, "Pimwa TB, Tibiwa Ishi Poa."
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Oma.
Now, that was just an update as to where we are in as far as the numbers. That is, we recorded a new high yesterday at 1,540 new confirmed infections. As of yesterday, we're not so sure about the infection rate today. So towards the end of the day, we're going to have an update of that. And remember, this was 1,540 persons testing positive for coronavirus out of a sample size of 9,348. In regard to that story that I'd mentioned for you there, prepared by Beatrice Gatonye, in regard to, scaling up capacity in as far as equipment is concerned. You can get further details, but now 14 counties are to receive 10 locally assembled hospital beds. And this is just to boost our capacity. You can get them on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. In the meantime, Doreen, what is our status in as far as the national examinations are concerned?
Right now, focus is shifting to the KCPE marking as well as the battle for Form 1 places. And this is after the exam, that is KCPE, was concluded or came to an end yesterday. Also in regards to that, the education PS, that is Dr. Julius, has now urged parents to support the 100% transition policy by ensuring that all students who sat for this year's KCPE, rather last year's, ensure that they go to Form 1. When that time comes, he also said that the government has allocated money for free secondary education for all learners, even as he warned that the government will take action against any parent who denies their children a chance to advance their education. Again, also this comes at a time where in Kwale County, 72 candidates who registered for the KCP did not sit for this exam, and this is after 2 passed away and 70 just went missing. Again, in addition to that, also as focus, yes, is shifting on marking as well as battle for Form 1. Again, also the same focus is shifting to KCSE, where the rehearsals are set to begin today, and this comes at a time where the government has released 7.5 billion secondary school capitation, part of which will facilitate the smooth running of KCSE examination. And this just comes only hours to the start of the rehearsals, which, like I mentioned, are set to begin today. And some 752,981 candidates are expected to go through this exercise, which is the KCSE exam, in 10,437 centers. Again, also what the CS is warning as this exams begins to, the rehearsals begin today, he's warning the examination officials, especially in those areas in the Nyanza region, who he claimed were planning to compromise the integrity of the exam by impersonation. He says the government is on high alert, and this year's exams becomes the 5th to be administered under the strict rules of to curb exam cheating. Again, you can remember that government has tried to just put different regulations here and there, at least to curb the issue of exam cheating, even as these exams, begin today and expected to continue till the April of 21st April rather.
Now, well, we're waiting to, see what is going to happen at the start of the KCSE examinations. We had the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, assuring parents and all those in the value chain that these national examinations are going to go smoothly because of increased, security and vigilance during the exercise. In what is called human interest angle, we have often, most times, police force or those in the disciplined forces they seem brute, they seem out of touch. Now, a police officer in Ruai gained national attention by babysitting a child to allow a standard 8 pupil sit for her KCPE exams. Now, the officer declined to comment on camera, said that he was doing what was right. It's Entertainment Thursday. How about we have a feel-good time and look at what Yusuf Farah prepared in this particular report.
Alice Milto, a Class 8 pupil at Quest for Happiness School in Ruai, Nairobi, arrives to sit for Kiswahili exam. Her baby Victor Nyakaia gently clutched in her hand. But as she concentrates on her exam, an officer stationed at her school takes the baby, a knack that has warmed the hearts of many. He rocks the baby gently in one hand, his firearm on the other, as he keeps watch on security at the school.
But he fell in love with this baby. He has been carrying the baby. He has been so proud of the baby. That is again building self-esteem to this mother who became expectant.
Milito, like many other girls her age, got pregnant during the extended learning break occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, something her teachers believe should not be held against her.
She's a Maasai girl. We saved her from early marriage. Then we accepted her. She has to do the exam like another child, and I'm expecting her to do well because we want to educate these children watoke from vicious cycle of poverty so that they can be self-sustainers.
And after the exam, the officer dutifully hands back the baby to its mother. Considering it just another day on the job, the officer reserved his comments on his rare gesture. Alice still believes she has a bright future undeterred by early motherhood.
Nilipata mtu wa kutusaidia kusomesha up to class 8, and we really want you to help me so that I can learn high school until Form 4 and get a good job, and I want to learn like others.
Being expectant is not a crime. The crime is when we don't accept them, when we don't encourage them.
In a related development, a Standard 8 pupil in Teso North Sub-County was not as lucky. Her labor pains came on the second day of the examinations, forcing her to be away from school. She delivered a baby girl who she incidentally named Exam Nabutu. Her spiritual father encouraged her to look forward to going back to school and not consider her early motherhood as at the end of her road.
Masomo haina kikomo. Masomo haina umri. Masomo haina nywele nyeupe wala nywele nyeusi.
Yusuf Far, Channel 1 News.
Oh yeah, this is me practicing sign language. Good afternoon is this way, I think. Good afternoon. But hey, how
you
about
need to be very smart.
We actually need to applaud that officer there. So
Yes.
whoever you are,
Even in sign
as
language.
much as you didn't want to comment on camera, askari name too.
And
So
even in
when-
sign language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good enough.
Askari name too. So while some city council or other county council officials were dragging a woman across the tarmac, you're busy babysitting so that that particular pupil could sit for her exams. Be twice blessed. Be twice blessed. Jane?
Let's now move on to the storm that is raging in the NASA coalition. So yesterday, ODM decided to, or rather ruled, to kick out Kakamega Senator from his position as the Deputy Minority Leader in the Senate. And this move wasn't as appreciated by the other three NASA principals. And this is Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, and Moses Wetangula. So they consequently did put together a letter and addressed it to the Speaker. And in this letter, first, looking at the allegations that were leveled against Malala, is that from the ODM camp, that he was accused of disloyalty to ODM chief, that is Raila Odinga. He was also accused of inciting violence against ODM supporters during the March 4th by-elections in Matungu. Now, looking at this letter that was addressed to the Speaker, the three leaders did highlight that they pleaded with the Speaker to reject the dismissal of Malala, terming it as unilateral and procedural and running contrary to the agreements that were established within NASA. And they go on to say that this is a blatant breach of the provision that obligates the sharing, mind you, keyword, sharing of legislative offices and decision, further going on to say that nowhere in the agreement does it provide for unilateral decision-making on matters that involve House leadership. They went ahead to highlight some of the other concerns that they have in regards to the dismissal, to the ousting of Malala from his position as the Senate Deputy Minority Leader, and they are now awaiting to see if it will be responded to in accordance or this decision will continue to stand. Politics.
Now to just give us further detail and to throw some spanners into the works is that also Senator James Orengo has called for the non-politicization of the Constitution amendment process. We are talking about the issue of the BBI there. Over this week, we have been seeing a section of the legislature accusing the executive of being draconian, that they want to, manipulate the final, bill, the Constitution Amendment bill there. what we're terming in layman term as the BBI. So this transpired in Parliament yesterday, and Gladys Mungai has details of this and so much more in her report that also put the ouster of Cleophas Malala into perspective.
Debate on whether to amend or not amend the BBI-led constitutional process continues to be a thorny issue among legislators, whose joint committee on the document now has 9 days to table its report. Siaya Senator James Orengo, while denying claims that some political hands were on work to interfere with the report, called for patience among Kenyans.
There's no hijack at all. And you know, as a coalition, and if I talk for the party or in democratic movement, we are fully committed to BBI.
During the NASA parliamentary group meeting, senators voted to eject Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala as the deputy minority leader. Malala, who is set to be replaced by Kilifi Senator Stuart Madzayo, has been accused of alleged gross misconduct and mischief in the recently concluded Matungu parliamentary mini poll.
We were dealing with questions of leadership within the coalition, and I don't want to predetermine the matter. I could hear one of you talking about the substance of what probably things we discussed. But I would urge you that at the end of by the end of the morning, we will give you a further briefing on that question.
Meanwhile, the Senate has altered its calendar for the 5th session in a move that will see the House sit once a week on Tuesday morning and afternoon sitting. While approving the motion, senators argued that the move was necessitated by an increase in the spread of COVID-19, forcing the House to reduce its sittings.
What is a plan with regards to vaccination of the entire population? Kenya can afford to buy the 47 million doses for all Kenyans if we stop some of these programs that are not urgent. They might be necessary, but not urgent as a vaccine.
Kujakuwa na mwelekeo wote katika bunge hili kuhusiana na masuala ya COVID. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni aibu leo kwamba mpaka sasa kutoka hii raundi ya 3 ianze hatujakuwa na mwongozo wote uliotolewa katika bunge hili kuhusiana na vipi wananchi watakavyoweza kufanya ili kuepukana na janga hili.
As much as we are protecting ourselves as leaders, it is very important and incumbent upon ourselves, Mr. Speaker, for us to retreat to our counties, our respective counties, and ensure that we carry out effective oversight on the governors so that, Mr. Speaker, we protect our lives and protect the lives of our people, the people who elected us.
The number of people being buried on the same day for the same reasons was shocking. So we need, Mr. Speaker, to hold the government, both at the national and county levels, to account. Money was sent to counties for corona.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Security Committee failed to kick off due to lack of quorum. CS Matiang'i and the entire ministry senior leadership had honored summons by the committee, only for the meeting to be aborted as legislators were a no-show.
We had prepared and we were ready, but to our disappointment, we have had to call off this meeting. We hope that they'll be able to organize themselves better next time so that we are able to satisfy members of parliament who are asking very important questions on behalf.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, the Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i is ordering that some 500 refugees in the 2 camps, this is Dadaab and Kakuma, leave and return back to their original homes. This again also comes at a time where the UN agency has urged the Kenyan government to ensure that any decisions on the Dadaab and Kakuma camps allow for suitable and sustainable solutions to be found. This move, it is likely to elicit global concerns, and more so over the fate of thousands of refugees, the majority being from Somalia, a country that has since served bilateral relations with Kenya. Kenya is also citing national security threats posed by some of the refugees, including past terror attacks that have been linked to the accomplices of Somalia-based Al-Shabaab military groups within these two camps. Also, what the CS Interior said yesterday is that he gave the UNHCR an ultimatum of 14 days to come up with a roadmap for the closure of both of these two camps. And further on, he continues to say that we do have, as a country, a domestic responsibility to protect Kenyans. Remember, this is the third time when they're trying to ensure the closure of these two camps. The first time was in 2016, and the second time was during the Dusit D2 attack in 2019. 14 days ultimatum is what the Interior Ministry is giving UNHCR to come up with a proper roadmap for the closure of the Dadaab and Kakuma camps.
And isn't it interesting, after that direction that was taken by the Kenyan government in regard to just ensuring that we're secure, and that's the closure of the Dadaab and Kakuma camps, we lost 2 people yesterday after a bus they were traveling in ran over an IED in Mandera. We'll be keeping tabs on that, especially when we're at a time still in Kenya is grappled in a matter of dispute with Somalia over the maritime border dispute. There, West Kenya stands to lose close to 113,000 square kilometers of land, offshore, onshore, that has already it's going to have an impact not just on Kenya as a whole, but also Lamu, being that Lamu is one of the areas where we do oil and gas exploration there, as well as the community there relying on fishing as a livelihood. Now we shift gears from matters of diplomacy, security, and talk about soccer. If you like football. So come tonight at 7 p.m. the national soccer team, Harambee Stars, will face off Egypt's Pharaohs in the AFCON 2022 qualifier match that is set to take place at the Kasarani Stadium. Now, this will be the Stars' determinant match, since a win will see them increase their chances of qualifying for the continental showpiece. Meanwhile, the Egypt national team had a feel of the Kasarani Stadium, as you can see from those particular pictures there, yesterday evening after jetting into the country last night. Now, Liverpool fans must be very excited, especially what we want to say, those that never walk alone, because Mo Salah, forward, that is Liverpool's forward, will feature for the Pharaohs for the first time in almost 2 years at the Kasarani Stadium tonight. And Mo Salah has not only emerged as one of the best attackers in the English Premier League, but also in the world. As we began this morning, is that we need to pray for our players as they take on Pharaohs tonight. And KBC Channel 1 is going to be televising this match live. Further details available on our website. We take a breather. Back next is Matters on Road Safety. Do not go away.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mlitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduthi ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi 2 unaweza nunua microwave. Shilingi 5 unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quickbid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
It's very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit, live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
My name is Flint Lockwood, and I've always wanted to invent something awesome.
Heron boulder! Flying car! He wants to be smart, but that's lame!
Can't you be more like my son, Cal?
Sup?
Sup?
It really works! I love it!
Mamma mia.
Cloudy with a chance of meatball.
Next on.
Watu wameenda pale, wameamka asubuhi, wamepanga foleni vizuri.
Watu wako wengi. Nilikuwa nakwambia uje mapema. Hakuna haja tupange line si wote. Wewe tu nilipia alafu utaleta huko tunafatana huko ndani. Ofisi. Na nusu. Acha nihudumiwe nimaliziwe niende.
Unamaliziwa na ngoja, unamaliziwa kwani si pia hataki kumaliziwa.
Yaani uko hapo? Yaani kwenye line. Sasa hii ni maneno gani tena? Ni nini inaendelea hapa? Ama line inaanzia na huko pia mimi niende nikasimame huko nyuma.
Wewe mzee hapana bwana. Unajua wengine tumepanda mabasi. Kwa hakika hii ni tabia ambayo inaudhi sana.
Yo, muniitisha mtu wangu na tukawapatia.
Mwenzako I feel so good, pindi nikikuona.
Top Mashariki, mpango mzima, kipindi ambacho kinakupatia burudani katika kanda Afrika Mashariki. Ukiwa na mie Munyi Kazungu hapa, nite kaka mkubwa na kuletea mahanja. Ungana na mimi Munyi Mtetezi Kazungu kila siku ya Ijumaa kuanzia mida ya saa 4 usiku. Top Mashariki freestyle au sio, ni take over.
A quick look on the roads before we embark on the day's interview. Our focus still along Kenyatta Avenue. So let's try and see if things have changed, or, you know, if you're told we may still have to look at any alternative routes, at least as of now. This is how it is looking like. Not so bad again, even up till now. You can remember that earlier on, at least it was a smooth sailing. There was barely any kind of traffic, and this is just how it is right now is actually how it was earlier on. At least smooth sailing on major parts of this roundabout, just on some sections here and there where there's a bit of a heavy kind of traffic, still moving at a very slow pace. And those sections is just as you leave areas around Valley Road, coming through Kenyatta Avenue before you get to the roundabout there. And also on this other side, as you get to branch off from Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, going through Uhuru Highway on that section as you head over to Haile Selassie Selassie, all the way past that roundabout, heading over to Mombasa Road. On that section again is just where there's the heavy kind of traffic moving at a very slow pace. On this other side of the roundabout, as you leave areas around Waiyaki Way, coming through, as you get to University roundabout through Uhuru Highway there, as well as also getting to branch off to the city center, still via Kenyatta Avenue. On this entire side of the roundabout, on those sections moving at a pretty fast pace. So yes, in as much as there's a bit of a traffic here and there, again, this is why we have that orange color there, which just means the traffic has begun to slightly build up, but altogether manageable kind of traffic. So this is actually throughout that entire section as you get to the city center. And this is that area where the NMS has constructed the non-motorized transport system, which caters for cyclists as well as pedestrians in that section. And this is how it is looking like, at least to ensure that pedestrians and cyclists don't get to use the major roads, which has been designated for vehicles both public and private. And again, this is how it is doing in terms of traffic. Green all through as you leave the roundabout, coming all the way to inside the CBD. In fact, nothing has changed there. So again, for our viewers coming from areas around Valley Road, Upper Hill as well, intending to use Uhuru Highway as you get to branch off to Kenyatta Avenue, this is just the best time for you to do that, because throughout, as you get to leave the roundabout, heading to the city center via Kenyatta Avenue on both sides, that's why we're seeing that green color, which just means it's moving at a very fast pace. In fact, on that lane that is heading to the city center, as you leave CBD, still coming through Kenyatta Avenue, that's just where traffic begins to slightly build up, but altogether manageable kind of traffic. Where things have not changed at all is as you leave Kenyatta Avenue, coming through Uhuru Highway. In fact, on that lane, two lanes in between University Way roundabout and Kenyatta Avenue, and specific to that lane that is coming from University Way through Uhuru Highway as you get to the roundabout there, that is just where there's really heavy kind of traffic at a parking lot, not moving at all. But I believe, at least as of now, traffic police are already stationed on this roundabout, trying to see how best they can control traffic. But for our viewers coming from areas around Waiyaki Way, city center through University Way roundabout, all the other side from Uhuru Highway, if at all you are going to areas around Mombasa Road, as well as also the other side of Upper Hill, then you'll have to make do with this traffic on, again, that particular section or that particular lane. On the other side, it looks like things are moving rather at a very fast pace all through that entire side. So how about we look at one last roundabout, at least for now. This is the University Way roundabout. Again, one of those busy roundabout. Same situation as how it was around the Kenyatta Avenue. This is how it is looking like. Again, not so bad. This is the situation there as you get to branch off to State House Road, as well as Nyerere Road there, beginning to slightly build up, but altogether, again, a manageable kind of traffic. Where there's really heavy kind of traffic is as you leave areas around Kipande Road, City Center, as you head over through University Way, getting to branch off there on the other side of Uhuru Highway. But also, just as you leave the University Way, before you get to the roundabout, on that section, at least, green all through on this side as you come through Uhuru Highway. So again, if you're coming from areas around, this is also Kipande Road, if at all you're heading over to Uhuru Highway, where you'll just have to make do with the traffic is on this section of University Way. Just on that section there before you get to the roundabout, all through before that area, and also past that area, it is a smooth sailing. And this is, again, if you intend to head over to those areas which I mentioned along Mombasa Road as well, Haile Selassie, and at the other side of Uhuru Highway. But again, along this route, the entire Uhuru Highway, there's some sections which have been closed as well. This is to necessitate that expressway, and this is in between these two areas, the University as well as the Kenyatta Avenue. So clearly the heavy kind of traffic we are seeing could be perhaps because of that, aside from the fact that it is the morning hour, a lot of activities. In addition to that, it is also because of that fact there. On this other side, again, as you leave areas around Waiyaki Way, also this section has been closed, again, to necessitate that construction of the expressway, and this is why we are seeing that heavy gridlock. And again, you can see this specific to that lane that is coming all the way from Waiyaki Way through Uhuru Highway before you get to the University Way roundabout. But also, this is one of those busy roads. You remember that this one of those roads that also caters for vehicles that come from the outskirts of Nairobi. This is actually Waiyaki Way, so not just those aces as you head over to the CBD via Uhuru Highway, but also vehicles that come from the outskirts of Nairobi. These are areas around the Nyanza and western part of of the country. So clearly when we say this kind of heavy traffic is because of various reasons here and there. Aside from it being the morning hour, is because of different reasons, again, just as I mentioned, here and there. On the other side section, rather, as you head over to the estates, again, moving at a very fast pace. And look at that, the contrast in color. So this is why, you know, you would hear me say oftentimes that on those lanes that are heading over to the estates in this early morning hour, this is basically what you'd expect to see, that green color, which is just an indicator of a swift moving of vehicles, no traffic at all, because of less kind of activities. I mean, the morning hour, you would barely expect people to be heading over to the estates, but on this other section, again, coming to the workstations, coming to, you know, businesses here and there, so clearly so many activities in the city center, and this is where we are seeing that those contrast in colors. On this section is moving at a very fast pace, no traffic at all. On the other side, heavy kind of gridlock just at a parking lot. In fact, that is not moving at all, at a standstill there on that section of Uhuru Highway. A good number of times, these two routes would always serve as a good alternative route if at all you are coming from Uhuru Highway or even city center via the University roundabout. And these two routes are normally the State House Road as well as Nyerere Road. So yes, in as much as these two roads only cater for private vehicles and motorcycles, so oftentimes they serve as a very good alternative route. So let's just quickly look at how they are doing this morning. And this is the situation there, green all through, no traffic at all. So again, it just means that if at all you're going to areas around Valley Road and you do not want to do with the traffic in between University Way roundabout and Kenyatta Avenue, there you could branch off from this roundabout, which is the University Way, and head over to use either head over to use Nyerere Road as one of your alternative routes if at all you're going to areas around Valley Road there. Because also again on this route, just like State House Road, green all through, no traffic at all on those two sections. So again, remember, this only serves private as well as motorcycles, not public vehicles. So clearly, if you are on public, then you'll have to make do with this traffic, because also on these two sections, on this lane rather, in between these two roundabouts, there is no alternative routes. If at all you are heading all the way to areas around Valley Road or even coming all the way through Mombasa Road. So again, a very quick look on this is one last roundabout there, which is the Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout. And look at how this one is looking like. So different from how University Way as well as Kenyatta Avenue is looking like. Heavy kind of traffic on this particular one all throughout the entire roundabout as you get to leave areas around Upper Hill, also on that section, leaving areas around Kenyatta, coming to the city center, heavy kind of traffic, and again specific to that lane that is coming to the city center. On the other section, as you leave Mombasa Road, leaving areas around the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, Bunyala, coming through past the roundabout there, coming through Kenyatta, coming through Upper Hill, Lower Hill there on that section, at least not so bad, unlike how the other side is doing like. So this is just where there's really heavy kind of traffic as you head over to the roundabout there, and also past the roundabout as you come to the city center. This is why I was telling you earlier that any road that is coming to the CBD or inside the city center, this is basically what you'd expect to see. And look at that. In fact, not moving at all. That, you know, at a parking lot, just at a standstill. Specific as you head over to city center, and also as you leave CBD via the Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout, coming through Uhuru Highway, and again as you leave areas around Nyayo Stadium, all the way from Mombasa Road, still using Uhuru Highway as you get to branch off to the other side of Upper Hill as well as Lower Hill. Also remember, around those areas there have been a lot of ongoing works, at least to ensure that they expand most of these routes, because it is also not only just a residential area but also a commercial center. And you can remember that oftentimes I've told you that a good number of businesses are relocated to areas such as Upper Hill as well as Westland. So if you see the ongoing road works in these two roads, it's simply because at least to ensure they cater for also that part of the commercial, you know, side of, you know, of that road, serving that purpose rather. So again, in terms of traffic, heavy kind of gridlock there. So again, if you're coming from those areas, then you'll have to make do with the traffic. So what we will do is that in the different links we'll be having, we'll also try to look at better alternative routes aside from just State House and Nyerere Road.
Now, away from that traffic update, we still focus on matters of transport and safety. Now, focusing more on matters of road safety. It is said that human error is one of the main reasons, actually the main causes of road carnage. To take us through this conversation as to what is, the emerging trends and as far as road safety is concerned, is none other than Safety Plus Group CEO, Mr. Alfayo Otuke. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you, madam.
Asante. Now that we're here, we already know that human error is largely to blame for what we see on our roads in as far as road accidents or what we term as road carnage is concerned then. As a person who is already in this value chain and a Safety Plus, how do we deal with this menace?
Right. It is true that human error is the cause, is the greatest cause, not only the cause, but the greatest cause of road traffic accidents. There are several ways we can address this particular matter. One way is to provide education. What we are doing here is part of that education. We can extend this education to young ones because they become strong ambassadors for tomorrow. We can do it right in schools. It is in this country that we don't have even the traffic course being tested in any level of examination, be it primary, secondary, or even high institution of learning. So if we embrace and have a safety culture right at the family level, right at the organizational level, right now here in KBC, even in a state level like the country of Kenya, then we will not be talking about solving the problem of human error.
Talking about passing on this information. Some while back, we had a proposal, to have motorists do a refresher driving course, to just try and stem the runaway, road carnage that we're seeing. Would this be a step in the right direction?
Oh, yes. Every career you must progress. It's only driving that people take a course, taking a few weeks, and then you proceed for the entire life.
Yeah, most people argue that if you learn how to cycle,
yes,
you will always know how to cycle. It never gets out of your system. And I think we have equated cycling to driving.
No, not really. Cycling is different. Cycling is more or less like walking because it uses the human engine, it uses the human energy. But then, as I said earlier, every career you need development. Yes.
But now, if you're talking about, enhancement and such, there's also been calls to streamline the public transport sector. And now keen focus is on the matatu industry in itself, because statistics clearly indicate that a majority of these particular vehicles are either the causes or are involved in this, road accidents. From a stakeholder point of view, then, how do we rein in on this sector?
Well, matatu industry has been a problem in this country for a long time, long time. And there's been several interventions from even government or even stakeholders themselves to alleviate the problem that we see. I think I want to find the genesis of the problem we have in PSV sector to the qualification of people involved. Education is key when we talk about safety. If you have someone who has not been to school well, the formal education I mean, he may not be able to understand some few things. And then when we even have business people who sell motor vehicles to this sector, not even organizing a single seminar to even educate the drivers on how to use a particular machine. You remember all these vehicles are not locally made. They come from a distance. And somehow along the line, those mistakes can emanate from failure by the driver to know how to use a particular machine. Remember our curriculum, a driving curriculum, it talks about how to drive. It doesn't talk about models that come on our roads. So when we talk about the chaotic nature we see in the PSV sector, it's both contributed by people themselves, the operators, and even the government. In a large extent, It has taken the government many years to come up with an integrated national transport policy, which again can streamline the industry. What comes up, whenever the government makes an attempt to introduce anything that can save a life, it is resisted. People organize strikes. You have seen strikes in this country, all are wrong. I think Kenya is becoming a nation of strikes every now and again. So when a government, and you know a government is a few people, then the multitude is me and you out there, do not support the government. It cannot succeed. In the year 2005, had an opportunity to be part of the National Steering Committee, which was working under Ministry of Transport. Our mandate was basically to come up with recommendations on what the government ought to do in this chaotic industry. One of the few things we recommended is the establishment of National Transport and Safety Authority. You remember before it was National Road Safety Council, which was being toasted between ministries. This year, finance year, you find it in another ministry, the other ministry. The same problem we looked at between that period, 2005, 2009, before NTSA was launched. This is the same problem we have now. You can see I'm trying to talk about how even the government contributes to the failure in the sector. We essentially, under the World Health Organization, there are funding. There's some funding which come to organizations like NTSA. Kenya doesn't get that funding because one of the requirements is it should be under Ryan Ministry. And Ryan Ministry here is Transport Ministry. But as we speak, it is under Ministry of Office of the President. So that tossing that agency from one ministry to the other loses the caliber, loses the focus. And the main problem, it has no funding.
It's not domiciled in the right ministry. Other than that, there's an issue of formalizing PSV sector. You know, we have seen SACCOs coming together and operating certain routes, left, right, and center. But if we were to formalize this sector and have an inclusive approach then in the PSVs, would it go a long way in addressing this issue? Because
not really.
We find ourselves the strikes and all that. We suffer as a majority of us. The strikes, right. we don't get to work. There's so much suffering, especially to the consumer point of view. Formalizing.
Yes, passengers suffer a lot and the problem that emanates from the sector. But let me tell you, when the former Michuki Waziri came up, implemented proper, not came up with. You know, every Kenyan say Michuki rules as if Michuki came up with the rules. Michuki found the rules, implemented them to the letter. Now we refer them, and actually you people love calling it Michuki rules. When he implemented the rules, we could see order. Kenya was, at least for the first time, we took a side, and then people like the most vulnerable, expectant mothers, young children, and the elderly could easily use the PSV sector because it was ordered. But immediately those implemented, the enforcement went down a little bit. Then the chaos came in. Let me just remind you a point. The government, in its good intentions, came up with a requirement that all matatus be grouped into associations, which we call societies, as you have just mentioned.
Yes.
Now, what happened? Immediately the crooks who were supposed to be removed from all the stages, because you could imagine a situation, you are traveling to Kakamega today, you have children and you have luggage. Then your luggage goes to another bus, children to another bus, and yourself, you find yourself in another bus. Yeah, that's the problem we had at the commonly known as Machakos Country Bus. So the government intervention was, let us group these people into small formations where we can easily manage them. What happened? Crooks also,
the goons also coalesced together
quickly and registered the societies. So that problem we are trying to alleviate actually moved to another more organized level. So the government found itself in a very complicated situation. This is a registered person, properly registered. There is really no way you can deal with him unless now you are under his mercy. This is the reasons why you find even now the solutions on the matatu industry has not been achieved.
Talking about solutions, let's bring in Boda Boda.
All right.
That's where we are going. That is where we are. We're not even going. We
Yes.
are there.
Yeah, we find ourselves.
We have seen, let's give an example of CBD. We had some laws and regulations that, barred them from accessing the CBD, but we're still finding them in the outskirts of the CBD itself. Any accident, any situation you find a Boda Boda in, the vehicle in question gets torched, it becomes unruly, people get hurt, some of them even die. How do we tackle the Boda Boda menace?
I have had very good solutions for this, and I've not had a forum, but as I mentioned them here at KBC, the way the government is implementing the problem is it may not give us good result. I agree with you that even light here outside the city of Nairobi, which is one of the biggest cities in Africa, it's chaos. These guys are there. They look like thugs. If you look at one of them, they are dirty. They are not in a mode we can really want to use them. They are very expensive. You try to move from maybe my railway area to here, you can pay 500. It's a motorcycle, you can imagine. And they force you to pay that particular. I can role model it with Kigali in Rwanda. Had an opportunity to go there. And then we went, actually this is the same time we went with the former governor here, Sonko, and the director of the president, to see what we can copy from Kigali to Nairobi city. You realize the time when Sonko was doing some gardens around here, although implemented wrongly, but in Kigali, this order, my friend, you'll find those Boda Bodas. If you agreed 50 shillings,
it is 50
and
shillings.
you go to a shopping center, you want to buy some vegetable, and you want to buy some sugar, they don't increase. It's still 50 shillings. But try that one in Kenya. You go to a supermarket, they can even jump in and embarrass you. You are inside here and you have kept me holding out here. It is very embarrassing. So a solution, the problem started when the former president, Kibaki, zero-rated the importation of the motorcycles into the country. So everybody could afford it. Remember, the motorcycle was about 300,000. So nobody could really afford. It was government agencies, the agricultural extension officers, and so forth, even traffic police of that time. But now when it was zero-rated, it became cheaper. 20,000, 30,000, you can get a motorcycle, which again, the lifespan is so short, about 3, 4 months, 5 months, imekwisha. So when the government did that, it did not have a progressive response in terms of policy. At that point, they did not see this to come. The intention was good. Yes. Let us provide Kenyans with a solution, especially for those ones who are not motorable, like the Roko areas. There is no matatus. So the government thinking that time was good, that let us provide solution. Remember, it's a responsibility of any government to transport its own people.
True.
Now, the problem came when there was no an intervention in terms of policy. Now, the government finds itself in a quagmire. They are also trying to run against problems, forming a task force here and there, trying to come up with solutions. These solutions cannot. My take is this. You ask me, what could be the solution? The solution is this. Let these Boda Bodas be registered back to the local chief, the assistant chief. You know that where you came from, the village, the chief there knows your mom, knows your dad, knows your brothers. The local chief can be able to register this motorist, the Boda Bodas. And if you mess, you have nowhere to hide. But right now, traffic police are very few. Look around, maybe, for example, Nyeri, Nairobi Road. They are scattered in small spots. But these people are able to even come nearer to a traffic police, take a branch to a forest, go through the thick and join the road. Or they can speed past them. There's nothing police can do.
They can do.
Yes. But just as before I close, if we register them...
We're not closing. We're just about to take a short break so that we can tackle this issue. Register with the local chief for accountability and transparency. Talking about the Boda Boda menace in regard to road safety. Take a breather. We'll be right back.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduthi ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi mbili unaweza nunua microwave. Shilingi tano unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
It's very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit, live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I am too young and handsome to die at this age. You are never driving me again in your vehicle. You almost made me puke my intestine.
Hi, Farah, come on. What do you expect from us, Hub?
Sissy, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. That doesn't look like nothing.
But that is what my heart is telling me too.
You better tell your heart to shut up.
Mama Kenyanjui, you're back, eh?
Kwani nilikuwa nikuja nikutafute nikuhabarisha.
I see what is happening here. Like mother, like son, opportunistic people.
This is enough. Please.
Out. I will report you to women rights.
Go ahead. Report. Iko nini?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Samahani kaka. Ningeomba tu nijue wewe ni nani katika hii familia.
Kwa nini? Shamsa. Usianze kuniletea aibu. Mimi nakuuliza mambo ya chakula na mambo ya wanawake.
Mara majini, mara nafuata hotelini, yani sielewi. Nipeleke nyumbani.
Ofisi iko tayari na nilifanya interviews za secretaries. Yani kwa ufupi everything is ready.
Wonderful.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
That you would consider me for a job at your company.
On the contrary, I feel honored to bring you on board.
But I can't accept, sir.
That doesn't turn her into the queen of the house. Even if she feels like she is, she should know that in this castle there's also a princess.
I would love to have that person in front of me so I could tell him never to mess with me.
I want you to take my foolish son's old job. What do you think?
Good morning. So if you're tuning in, we've been talking about matters of road safety, and taking us through this conversation is a group CEO of Safety Plus, Alfayo Otuke. Now, before we took a short break there, you were just giving some of the recommendations as to, what you'd want to see as far as, reining in on rogue Boda Boda operators to ensure that we are safe on our roads. Other than registration at the chief's office.
All right.
Yeah.
That was one. Yes. I had more three I can mention. Number two is that I would urge the county government to take up the role more seriously. If you remember the 2010 constitution that we are using now, actually gave a lot of responsibility to the counties. It's only that most counties have not realized to date to take that responsibility to the next level. Road safety is a devolved function. Even when we talk about National Transport and Safety Authority, if you go to the fourth schedule, which gives a distribution of functions between national government and county, you will find road safety as a function is devolved to counties. But which county and what are they doing? Some of them are coming with funny things that are not even implementable. You have like Kisumu County, which said ladies should sit asunder. You know, Kisumu is becoming notorious with all sort of things. Besides, like, when I was coming in, I heard you say about a woman who was
dragged by county council officials. We're still yet to discuss that. Maybe we need to rope you in on the conversation on the trending topics to just have a view of what you're saying in regard to that matter.
Yeah, so that is two. And number three, we need to train the Boda Bodas also. They need to go back to school. These guys, most of them have not gone to any driving school. Did you know, out of 100% of the Boda Bodas we have, which is about 15,000, we have got about only 60% who have been trained very well and who can ride. Around 70% don't even have anything to do with helmet. They have no uniform, they have no insurance, they have no driving permit to use those. It's chaotic. So we need to retrain them. And that's the point we will get them to award the permits. Last but not least, the government need to come up with robust policies which can be long-term sustained, not something for today and there is nothing for tomorrow.
Some radicals have spoken, especially on social media, after cases were highlighted of where, you know, Boda Bodas ended up burning up someone else's car or even beating up, you know, members of the public, being used as getaways during a crime. And radicals have come out and say, how about we outlaw Boda Boda operations?
No, we cannot outlaw, because that is the problem again with this the African governments, not even Kenya. You come up one morning, you say, today we don't have hero buses. We will be having green buses. Here people run helter-skelter. Where do we get green? Where do we start? It's a country where we have chaos. So we can't wake up one morning and say, today we don't need Boda Bodas. Remember, this is somebody's husband. This is somebody's wife. And he has responsibilities. He is a father, children in school and all that. Secondly, these people have taken loans from banks to get these particular motorcycles. And again, it's a full-time job. It's a career. So you can't really wake up one morning, face it off. This is a country where even the government has said there is now a moratorium. There is no employment for the next 3 years. And here is a situation where saying, ile kidogo, remove it. So we can't do that. What we need to do is to come up with proper policies and try to implement them. The problem in this country, we don't implement. If you go to the library, you will find good laws. But do we implement them? Is it possible? Yes, it is. We have a case scenario. Michuki came in, went to the library, found the rules, implemented them. At once, everybody was asking, he could not do anything. I remember I was back home that time. Many people really missed the buses because they thought, what? You can't stop the whole country. But it was stopped and order was restored. So those people in those offices, and let me tell you something. I like my president. I have had occasions, especially when I was serving as the CEO of KTA, where we had one-on-one interventions. It means good, especially when we talk of road safety. But how about the ministers or the officers that he has entrusted this responsibility to? Are they as enthusiastic as the president? That is another thing. So if you get somebody on the top who has no passion like Michuki had, then there is a challenge and the challenge will persist.
Now, you've talked about us having good policies.
Yes.
Situation core ground, totally
different.
Different.
You're right.
Because if you were to take a survey, and I'm sure in your line of work, you know, just analyzing what is happening as far as the value chain is concerned, I don't know how many PSVs still retained their seatbelts. How many still have the dustbins inside? Now we're even talking about the uniforms. This day you can't tell. The only thing I think that has remained and is visible to be seen is a yellow line.
The industry, my friend, is is like we said, we use the word chaotic. It's satanic. It is something we cannot really, we don't know where God could maybe hit us one day, and then we come to realization. Right now there is COVID everywhere, and the government is, in attempt to at least save lives, has given some sort
safety
of
measures. You just jumped the gun there, because PSV is here. When we first confirmed our first case in March last year, we saw these measures coming into place, but now things are different. People are parking up in these vehicles, despite us riding the third wave. And stakeholders are saying they have been making losses and they're done making losses. So kama wewe hutakaa na mwenzako, unalipia ki?
You walk.
Then how do we empower the public in that particular value?
Okay, I like to start from the first one. We lost it slightly. The rules that are there, traffic rules, are not kept by PSVs. Let's be honest in this. Except for Yellow Line, which you see and I see, the rest is not there. The drivers are no longer wearing uniform. There is no that...
we don't have the tag. We can't see the identification displayed as it was required.
Yes. The city belts are not there. If they're there, they are not working. If they are there, they are dirty. So everything is chaotic. And I think we need to stop for a while. Maybe, I don't know, whether Kenya will come to stop breathing for a few minutes, then we start afresh again on the whole arrangement. But there's solutions we can provide. Like, for example, this chaos is mainly in towns. If you go to the local areas, it's easier to manage the matatus because their movement is predictable. Here, you can't predict the movement. I saw the other presenter give the traffic situation. Why do we give traffic situation? It's because it is unpredictable. Every few minutes it changes. And what makes it change? The same answer you gave, human error. So if a small person sneezes on the road, under traffic.
Yeah, I know, sneeze. When you sneeze, you hit the person, and so we're all snoozing at that point after sneezing.
It gets all chaotic.
Yes.
So coming back to the corona measures, nothing is being done now. I can agree with you that even schools that we closed the other day, did you remember the children?
Yes.
The children were supposed to at least have more trips so that we can be able to manage the sitting pattern. But did that happen? It did not. I monitored personally, and I was forced now to drive my kid to school as opposed to using school buses, because I could see the same trend where they're mobbed up. A seat meant for 3 or meant for 2 is now carrying 5, 6. Others seated, others sitting on their top. It is chaos. I don't know whether there's an officer here listening somewhere, sitting in a government office, who's supposed to be doing this. Just cross-checking and seeing, are our children carried properly according to the traffic regulations, which are there? Not that they are present, they are absent. They are there.
And not that we are making fresh ones.
Yes.
These ones are already in existence.
In existence.
Now come back to the PSV, because that is a concern that has been raised not just on mainstream media, but also on social media, with Kenyans saying, unajua, zungumza usinyamaze, you know. But in as much we have seen, I think beginning of this year, we had an employee of Equity Bank who was thrown out of a moving vehicle.
Yes.
On account of, I think there was an issue on the payment, and she lost her life.
Oh.
So we, as you've said, can we stop for a minute?
And reorganize ourselves.
And reorganize, because where we're going, personally, I'm not too sure we will survive.
I agree. As I told you, most of I mentioned something earlier, which is now coming up, the quality in terms of education of the people manning the industry, PSV, right from the owners. You know, the owners just jump into business. You know, there's somebody who has no any prior education or even training about transport. He just jumps into it. And what is the target or motivation? Profit. So he picks a driver who he doesn't know his profile, whether it's somebody who has killed people before or is somebody who doesn't know to drive. You have seen situations where even schools are employing matatu drivers to take children for a tour in Mombasa. And you know, the experience of highway driving is different from the just intra, which is within the city. Do you know these chaotic drivers cannot take bus to Mombasa? Did you know that?
Yes.
They would plunge into the sea. They could go into the forest. They cannot sustain a longer drive where the eyes and the humming of the engine is continuous. continuous, you know that humming is a lullaby. No, coming back to the question you are asking, this country needs a radical change. When NTSA was moved to Interior Ministry, I had happiness in my heart. I knew at least Matiang'i will do something. But I don't know what has really happened, that it's still like cool. Things are like, we are good. There's nothing bad, when everything else is not going on well. Lastly, you and me have a responsibility. You know, government can't be everywhere. I regret that we lost life, especially when somebody was rising to the occasion to say something what he or she was justified to say, but a bad thing happened. What was the response? If you had Magavuri in this country, and I would like to say, may God rest his peace, eternal. It's being buried today, I hope. If we had a Magavuri here, that entire route would have been closed. Or even that particular matatu, if it's a circle, because we agree they are grouped into a circle, remove them from the road, because this is something the government must show everyone that we are very serious. Life has been lost, close, go home. It doesn't matter how many losses you make and how many people will be denied food, but it should happen. If we get those kind of leaders who can radically face them, like Mijuki did, we keep on referring. Why don't we have a consistency in this implementation or enforcement? But police also are equally corrupt. They are
I was going there. The value chain is watered down. There's where we want to go, but in between here we have elements that are not for the vision. They're not there for the vision. Because public would also argue that we see, and unfortunately, a majority of Kenyans, if we were to open our lines, and I want to encourage you, if you have anything to say in regard to this conversation that you're talking about, the role that you and I can play to ensure that our roads are safe, and you're talking about the issue of public participation. Usinyamaze, zungumza, we are riding the COVID-19 wave. Are you being packed up in a public service vehicle more than, we're told to social distance, but is it happening on ground? I have seen people lumped up together in a 14-seater, and there is no social distancing. So, communications lines are open. We are speaking to Alfayo Tuke, who is a group CEO of Safety Plus, just trying to make us, be looking at the basics in as far as road safety is concerned. And during COVID, we need to have that conversation. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Regina Manyara, or rather at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Wamboy and Doreen Arange. Now we're talking about what Kenyans can do to ensure that they are safe on our roads. There's been campaigns, we've seen initiatives left, right, and center. But the broken chain, the authorities also,
yes,
they're not as straightforward.
All
so
right.
what do we do?
Yes,
It feels as if it's a hopeless situation. But
yeah.
is it?
Yes, there is something we can do. First, let us understand the risk factors. The risk factor number one, which causes accidents, is drinking and driving. I am not sure whether drinking resumed because at some time it was...
well, please.
Maybe that's a story for another day.
Oh, please, I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Now, that is a killer number one, globally. If you look at the statistics of World Health Organization, you really get worried. Now, that's a human error. Do you need to drink and drive? There are simple rules on how you should do it. I'm talking about what can you and me do.
True.
So let us stop drinking and also driving. Number two, the second highest killer is speeding. Why should you speed? You have had this conversation in town, that Sparrow drivers.
Oh yeah, thank you. I think I need to give you a high five, because whenever I talk about Subaru drivers, people come out online, oh, unatuonea, la 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 la. But man, they're the most, they're the roguest drivers I've come. Thank you for validating me, Mr. Tuki, there on that.
No, you have a point, because of research we have done previously, and you see which vehicles kill most. Subaru is number one.
Please take that again. Let them hear.
Yeah, all right.
There are some Subaru owners in this. In this
My small kid of 7 years is telling me when he grows up he could drive a Subaru. In my fleet of cars, I don't have a Subaru. But how did he come up from this? He came from peer groups who are saying Subaru is supersonic, it moves the speed. That speeding is what kills Kenyans. You have heard of madness when children picked their father's car previous about 3 years and went riding with friends. What happened? All of them perished. So this trend of speeding is depriving a lot of Kenyans a lot of life. Let me tell you, what is the cost and impact of road accidents before I go to the third, fourth, and fifth?
The economic impact.
Or we'll come there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right. Number 3, Kira, is failure to wear seatbelt. And we have talked about it previously, even drivers, even PSV, apana, even private vehicles. People don't wear seatbelt. When I walk out of the house, out of the door, I always remind my son, put the seatbelt. It is you as a parent to prepare the future generation. To know we don't wear seatbelts because of traffic police. We wear them for our own safety. Number 4, killer, is basically the nature of the road itself. And number 5 is something to do with these children, young children, you carry them in the front, we call them pressing there's a suitable seats meant mechanically for children.
Yes.
You plug them behind there so that in case of an impact, the kid does not hit against the dashboard.
Yeah.
That's another killer. If you look at all these, they are humanly paced.
Yeah.
It is me and you who can change the attitude. And then let me just wind it up. It is you and me to change our attitude.
Indeed. You and I to change our attitude. Now, we were talking about this issue of the economic impact of road carnage.
All right.
We have never looked at it from a point of what do we lose?
You're right. I'll mention something. I keep on referring to the statistics of the World Health Organization. The reason is, most African countries, Kenya included, we don't have a good database. There are some people I hit and killed and buried, and that database is not received. How about our Muslim brothers? When somebody is hit and they have hours to bury, they bury quickly and then the government loses that particular data. So without data, how do you finance? How do you plan? A government cannot plan. But let's go back to see the impact. Right now, as we speak, 1.25 million people die globally due to traffic accidents. This is about 3,400 people per day. In this particular day, 3,400 people will lose life. You see,
across the world.
I want to give numbers so that you see the magnitude. Now, let's look locally. When a parent dies, there is a road that happens. This was a breadwinner. You know, I talked to a local MCA someday that you are a breadwinner and told me, where did you get me in a race winning bread? I told him, no, it's not about that.
Okay, please. That MCA, we will tutakutana pale nyuma ya tent. We discuss from which word, because we are talking about how we need to make Kenya better again. And there are a few things. Education and academia is a must, a qualification.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you, first of all, there is a way I would like maybe to mention this. How do you then know where accidents happen much than other, where you are likely to die easier? It's Africa. Let me mention a certain important fact for the listener. About 50% of the cars or vehicles are in Africa. 50% of the vehicles are in Africa. But 90% of accidents happen in Africa. So in Africa, you have 26% chances of dying out of 100%.
On the road?
On the road. When you are in Europe, for example, it's more safer, about 9%. When you are in Southern Asia, the Southern Pacific, and the East Mediterranean, it's about 17%. But when you go to Americas, both North and South, it's about 15%. So chances of you dying in Africa are highest. But our motoring level is the lowest. That is something we need to survey and know why, but it's a story for another day. Now, the impact of road accidents on our economy is huge. Look at the cost that we have to pay into hospital for people who have been capacitated, who are there in the hospital. There is a time in Machakos, the governor there had selected a new full ward for the patients of Boda Bodas, for patients of accidents. You see, that is huge. If you look at the outstretching of even hospital beds, they are finished because of accidents that emanate from the road. And lastly, that loss that comes to the family. So the magnitude is about, under the UN Health Organization, they level it at 3% of the national gross domestic product, and then up to about 5% of the gross national product. Yeah. So that's how huge it is into our economy. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to look at a feedback that we're getting on Twitter in regard to our conversation, as usual.
Yes.
Subaru drivers are up in arms again, but I'm reverting to the fact that I didn't say it this time. It was a guest, and the guest is within the value chain, and they have done and conducted surveys as to which brands, or let me say, vehicles out there are involved in this accidents as such. And we all know even what the insurance survey has to say. When you are insuring a Subaru, you pay a little bit more in premium, because also your insurer is there to consolidate funds and make profits, and they're likely to end up paying for your repairs or something, or giving you another car. Now, Peter Onesma says, annoying to see Boda Boda operatives invading hospitals to flush out suspect patients and lynch them. That is in regard to the issue of, rogue Boda Boda operators and the fact we need to rein them in. At William Mwaburi, he is an avid follower of Good Morning Kenya, there on Twitter. Live following the show from Watamu about road safety, I congratulate Malindi, Watamu Matatu drivers. Kudos, they're following COVID protocols. Matatu iko na sheria za mishuke, and the passengers always smile. This is in regard, maybe he's just high-fiving the Malindi Watamu Matatu drivers for adhering to the COVID rules, as well as adhering to the Mishuki rules that had been set up before. So Kenyans, they're coming in to say, we are in a precarious situation as far as Boda Boda operators are concerned. Now, to better understand, we have had you on our show. We'd want to know now the role that a Safety Plus is playing when it comes to road safety. All right.
Yeah, before we start on that one, let's quickly in a second look at the response by Subarus. You see, what is a fact remains a fact. And I think the government need to rein in on this Subaru thing, because why should we have vehicles that are supersonic in speed and are allowed to our country if they cannot mitigate? They need to be subjected to traffic rules, and actually the PSV rules, let them have speed governance, because we're killing many people. They're not only them dying. It is even innocent Kenyans who are also on the road. So the government should take a serious intervention at the manufacturer level. And then again, the Subarus are not bad as a vehicle. It is those people who drive them.
The petrol heads.
All right. Now, let me go back to Safety Plus.
So that we can understand Safety Plus as we come to a close. You have said very heavy terms there, especially now Subarus. We'll deal with them on social media, but now Safety Plus, let's understand where you're coming from.
All right. Safety Plus is an organization, a private organization, and essentially the mandate is to give supplemental support to the government. As I told you, I was involved in the formation of NTSA at the initial level, and I had that passion to make sure that Kenya is safe. So that passion, I've carried the dream into another level by forming an organization that looks into many things. One, we have about 400 schools now. We have formed road safety clubs, because we do believe strongly that it is at that level we will nurture good ambassadors. We also do training for drivers. We do training for transport managers. And we do also put road signs. We do road safety policy. And actually, currently, we are doing one for KBC.
Very well said. Our guest this morning, a group CEO of Safety Plus, Mr. Alfaya Otuke. They're quite heavy. It's a wrap in as far as matters of road safety is concerned. We can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke.
Ni mimi.
Ulitoa pikipiki
Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduthi ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit.
Quickbit?
Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder.
399 shillings.
Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua free. Shilingi mbili unaweza nunua micro. Shilingi tano unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
It's very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit, live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
My name is Flint Lockwood, and I've always wanted to invent something awesome.
Hair on Boulder! Flying car! He wants to be smart, but that's lame! Can't you be more like my son, Cal?
Sup? Sup?
It really works! I love it!
Mamma mia. Cloudy with a chance of meatball.
On the next episode of
hivyo yani hata natamani asirudi kabisa.
Tizame basi, mimi nikikuchukua wewe, yeye hawezi kufanya lolote.
Jamani, Mungu mshari wewe.
Fanya hivi, nifiche. Hapana, sitajificha wewe.
Tafadhali nakuomba. Jifiche hapa.
Akuje tumenyana.
Fanya hivi, sikiza bwana.
Wafanyani.
Navaa nguo mume wangu.
Now, before we get to those trending topics, a very quick look on what is still happening along Kenyatta Avenue, given that that is our focus this morning. You can remember, at least on the first two link-up segments of this morning, there was barely any kind of heavy traffic on this route, and right now things have changed all together, and the good news is that it is actually for the better. Swift sailing in this particular roundabout. This is the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, and look at that green color and clear indicator of no traffic at all throughout that entire roundabout as you leave areas around Valley Road, coming through Kenyatta Avenue before you get that roundabout, and also as you branch off from the same roundabout going to the city center. In fact, on both sides, green all through, no traffic, just a bit, just slight on specific areas. This is on that part of the roundabout. Again, on that just section there, as you get to areas around Uhuru Highway all the way to the University Way roundabout, but altogether manageable kind of traffic, hence that orange color there. And also on this other side as you are leaving CBD, coming through Kenyatta Avenue as you get to branch off to Uhuru Highway. And also the beauty is that as you leave Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, coming through Uhuru Highway, actually this is along Uhuru Highway, on the section between Kenyatta Avenue and Haile Selassie, again, green all through, no traffic at all on both of these two lanes. So again, on both of these two lanes, it just means as you leave Mombasa Road, leaving Nyayo Stadium, leaving Haile Selassie, coming through Uhuru Highway as you get to Kenyatta Avenue, and also leaving Kenyatta Avenue, going to those areas which I have just mentioned. That is just where there's green all through, no traffic at all on both of these two lanes there. So again, for our viewers coming from those areas, which I've just mentioned, this is also the best time for you to do that, because clearly as of now, smooth sailing, no traffic at all. And as I mentioned, the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes of this specific route. Let's see also how Haile Selassie Avenue is doing. On this roundabout is not so good. Things are getting thick on this particular one, and this is actually throughout this entire roundabout, specifically also again as you leave areas around this is Upper Hill as well as Lower Hill, coming all the way to City Center, as well as areas also around Kenyatta. In fact, on that Kenyatta Hospital, on that section, heavy kind of traffic, and this has well been characterized by that maroon color there. In fact, it's at the parking lot. They are all through on that lane. On the other side, again, not so bad. This on the other side, it just means as you leave Mombasa Road, leaving Langata Road, leaving the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. However, on that section, before you get to the roundabout, is where it is at a parking lot. And look at that. This is where we're seeing that maroon color there. So again, one of those busy areas as well as busy roads. On the other side, green all through, meaning there's no traffic there. Also, again, a very quick look on those two alternative routes we had for you earlier, especially as you leave City Center, going to areas around V Road, and this was through Nyerere as well as State House Road. Again, as of now, not so bad at all. Green all through on both of these two roads, these two slip roads, which is the Nyerere as well as State House Road, which branch off from the major University Way roundabout. As also around the roundabout, really so bad. So it looks like on this road, which is Kenyatta Avenue, where the non-motorized transport system was put in place, or constructed rather, to ensure that at least it eases traffic flow, is really serving a good purpose, because unlike these two other roundabouts, these two major roundabouts along this major highway, which is Uhuru Highway, on both of this one is both of these two heavy kind of gridlock, except on the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, because look at how also University Way is doing in terms of traffic right now. Very bad. I mean, you know, heavy kind of gridlock there. And again, specific as you leave areas around Wayaki Way, coming through Uhuru Highway before you get to the University Way roundabout, and also leaving City Center via University Way, still coming through that same route there. And again, as you leave, just as you leave Kenyatta Avenue, coming through Uhuru Highway as well before you get to branch off to that University. But as I mentioned, Nyerere Road as well as State House Road could still serve as a very good alternative route, because right now on both of these two roads, no traffic at all, green all through, and the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. So this is how it actually is in terms of traffic. Our focus this morning has just been specifically on what has been happening along Kenyatta Avenue, as well as most of these major roundabouts as you leave areas around Uhuru Highway. We now want to move to our next segment, Trending Topics.
And there we are. We're back. I am back. D and I were tunacheza hapo hivi nyuma, but we are here and we want to get started with our Trending Topics segment. Remember, we welcome you to share with us your thoughts as the D gets her seat ready. Kiti chini kiti moto. We welcome you to share with us your thoughts. The hashtag ever remains To Be Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle. Our handles at Doreen Arange, at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Mumboy is how you can find us across the socials. And by the way, we appreciate you so much for having talked to us so far. Let me pull out some of the tweets that we have received. Everyone who's retweeting our feeds, man, we appreciate you. You know, we love that you have continued to stay with us. I don't know if you had gotten to this by Peter Onesimus in regards to the conversation that you had. Akisema, annoying to see Boda Boda operatives invading hospitals to flash out suspects, patients to lynch them.
Yes.
William Amburi tuned in kama kawaida, Otieno Joseph, Stephen Wanjohi, let me see, Doreen, ayo, kona namesake hapa D. Marshmallow Geshoe, Brian Watanga, Nandi Warrior, the hygiene doctor. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. We thoroughly appreciate y'all. So now we get into the trending topics, aka Udaku session is on.
My unclaimed assets.
Umepoza hapa tu kama mdaku mwenyewe.
I'm the Udaku
connoisseur. I can't wait for us to address that.
But first, I want us to start with this Kisumu incident because it has angered so many people, and we have seen the police station in which this lady was actually at the end taken to have come out with their own statement. And I don't know if you guys have been able to read it, but there are two sides to this story. So eyewitnesses were saying that she was just going about her business. She's a hawker, mind you. Her name is Beatrice Magolo. She's a hawker. She was going about her business also in the presence of her son. And she wasn't aware that these city askaris were doing their rounds. So she just was, they slowly just crept up on her, grabbed her. So yanaanza kushindo kwa nini wanamshika. Then she was huddled onto the pickup and she was resisting. So askari wakapanda juu. Then during this car hustle, Boda Boda guys saw this. Then they were trying to assist. So by the time they got there, the askaris in the pickup decided to take off while one of them was holding this lady's hand. And they dragged her for like 300 meters. When they got to the station, this is what the statement says, that the askaris were going about their routine duties to clear the street of hawkers, which is in line with COVID-19 rules. And they reached an area where they saw a group of hawkers. When they took note of these officers, they decided to run away. But there was one female hawker who was selling lemons who allegedly refused to leave. She's said to have confronted the askaris and they confiscated her lemons consequently. So as the pickup was speeding off, she tried to cling onto it in an effort to salvage her goods, and she refused to let go, and that is why she was dragged, because there were also the Boda Boda guys now coming to assist her and just understand why that was happening. And then allegedly the askaris were afraid, and that's why they decided to speed off and went up until to the station. Apparently they also arrested her son, who was trying to help her, who was again aliyekuwa kwa cell. Now there are two sides to this. They go on to even say that they are in communication with the lady. They are looking to give her a castole so that she doesn't have to work in the streets anymore. But then again, urging the public and traders to respect the city bylaws. Let me acha nianze na di, umeshawashwa.
Unajua?
Yeah.
In as much as there are two sides to the story, and they say you wouldn't really know until you hear actually both sides of the story. But I want to believe for them to say they want to get a store for this lady is because of the uproar on social media. In as much as it may be true what they are saying, that she was trying to run off to pick her things, because again from the different videos, her lessons are in tatters. She has dirt all over. So if at all that was true, let's assume it's true, she was going to pick her things. Why wouldn't they have done that in the first place, to a point where they want to give her a store after Kenyans have complained online, after there are articles here and there about the same story? So does it mean it's really what they really wanted to do? I don't think so.
Pray. Unavuta ile accent ya Kimeru?
Stay composed.
Someone than gods.
I'm trying to keep my Kimeru under wraps.
But yo.
So, county officials are scared of members of the public to a point they were risking the life of a trader and themselves. Because I'm imagining this is one man who is still, even in the clip that is available on social media, and our very own Kisumu-based reporter, Achola Simon, prepared a detailed report in regard to what happened yesterday. He would have fallen off that pickup. And you're dragging a mother, a sister, a wife, an aunt, a grandma.
In the presence of her son, mind you, because her son was arrested when he was trying to help her.
And that's why I'm asking, isn't there a better way of doing some things? And this is just one of those incidences that luckily got captured
on the socials.
Yeah, this would have gone unnoticed. I mean, let's take an example of what happens around CBD when they're clearing off hawkers. I remember having a conversation and with a friend of mine, and they asked me, Regina, how come you're wearing your watch in town? I'm like, I'm supposed to strip off my watch, my earrings, my necklace when I'm walking in town? Ambia, kanjo wakikam, your watch utapata. And I was like, okay, my God, so now, you know, kidogo kidogo Friday, watu wakaanza kukimbia. Kimbiza mizigo, nyanya inaanguka, lemon inaenda ipande, watoto ndio hao. Chaotic. I know. And I understand where these county officials are coming from, saying that they have to do their duty. But can we be humane enough while executing this duties that we do? These are parents for Pete's sake. Human life is very precious. We cannot even put a tag on it. Supposing, and I'm going to be, hypothetically speaking, this is a pickup. You're dragging someone. Supposing you couldn't hold on longer, and you had to drop them, and they knocked themselves on the tarmac, brain damage of sorts. Or these Boda Boda people who are pursuing you ended up running over them, and that mother lost their lives. What will happen to that boy? What would? So when I saw this, I went back to my mother, back at home. And let me share this, and it happened, and my Kimeru came out. So, my mom, some years back, was taking my small brother to school. So I'd asked for a taxi to come pick them. So I am watching from the other side of the road to just ensure that they get into that vehicle and go safely, because I was babysitting my other siblings. I was in campus. And this taxi man, I could see them arguing, and I guess it was maybe because of the costing and such. He reverses, you know, my small brother, my mom is holding my small brother and has some luggage. He reverses, I can see, I'm across the road on the other side. He reverses, then speeds towards my mom and my brother. Those few seconds, I saw my life in picture. Me losing my mom and my brother, and I'm the one who had called this taxi guy. Do you know what I did, Jane and Doreen?
Ulikuwa na panga?
I went for the damn panga.
For real?
I actually retrieved a panga. Man, I saw red. Because I was in the garden. I mean, I was doing some... Ilikuwa hapo, si ati niliendea. Ilikuwa hapo, we were doing some cleanup.
It was the closest thing you could find.
It's the closest thing and I, you know, well, people say I don't run and I'm Mwendo Angami and all that stuff. Well, those were years back, so I could run then. I'm not too sure I can run now. But I just crossed over the street, and it took my mom to tell me, calm down. And I was asking this man, what was your intention reversing and running and driving towards them? Did you want to kill them? Would that have earned you 100 shillings more? Because that was a point of contention. You wanted to rob me of my mom.
Because of
and my
cost.
brother because of 100 shillings. I was trembling. I saw red. I saw colors of the rainbow at once. My mom just told me, calm down. I was like, by the nitakumaliza na nikuweke kwa hii gari na nitaiangusha kwa hii mto. Unajua? Like, you'll not be found. You know where I come from, there's a river, and it is heavily infested in crocodiles. So I was like, I'd already seen everything.
I
was never going to get caught.
Now you're giving out your tactics.
No.
This is from back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, you know.
At least now,
it is here.
Now you're cool, calmed.
You know? No,
and then here we get to
cool, calm and collected.
No, you're not.
You mess up with my members.
You go back to who you are.
I go back to the basics. So I was just imagining if this woman actually got a lifelong injury, or even, God forbid, died, what would happen to that young man, that boy who was witnessing this? It would be traumatic, you know? And a life would be lost. I'm like, can we all be humane?
Yes.
You know, can we all be humane? Maybe she was in the wrong place, trying to eke a living. I mean, everybody's struggling. Wouldn't there be a better way to actually deal with this issue?
There definitely
let's look at the PR angle. I'm done with that one. I'm done with the askari. I'm now going to the how the county now is cleaning up. Unajua tunasemanga tunasafisha, tunatoa madoa yote. There was that conversation. You remember that ad that was running on KBC some years back? Inatoa madoa yote. Sugu. Kabisa? You remember? Alikuwa, this is alikuwa anajiita Kihara or
something. Kihara's mother.
Yes. And now sasa wanajaribu kusafisha. They're saying that they're in communication with this lady and they want to give her a kibanda.
So that she stops hawking.
I'm like, our very own reporter is on ground in Kisumu, and I'm sure he's going to be, following up on this. We have a lot of talk. We talk too much and do so less. Huh? Tutakuwa hapo na nyinyi. That woman nearly died for Pete's sake.
Yeah, and so many people have come out by there to criticize this incident. No excuse, in as much as she may have been going against the COVID rules. Yeah. Their reaction was
no excuse. And I'm asking,
not acceptable.
In my heart, the men who are on board that pickup, you're born of a woman.
And here you are dragging a woman.
Man, you're born of a woman.
Ground.
Your mother could not be your father, man. Clearly, even if you do transgender and change your sex, you're
it just
born
shows you that
of a woman.
There's in as much as we would say that yes, perhaps she was on the wrong, but clearly there are amicable ways of solving.
It didn't have to get to this
point. It didn't have to get. Actually, when you look at those videos, wow, I mean.
The speed at which that
vehicle was moving
off. If that man let go of that lady's hand, for sure we'll be talking about something
a different story.
Right, you guys remember the other day the lady who was pushed off a matatu just here,
and she passed.
The next day she died, and yet
what
she
was
went
the
to
issue?
Hospital.
What was the issue? Fair
out,
again.
Yes, difference of also it was less than 100 bob. Walked out of hospital, okay, but did not wake up the next day due to internal injuries. In this case, it was her bottom half that was being dragged against the hot tarmac. Anyway, we have seen people tagging the governor of Kisumu on social media, and he did officially communicate and put out a statement, and I just want to read it for you as it is, and this was early today morning, that this is from the office of the governor. While away in Nairobi in unofficial Council of Governors meetings, I have been saddened and shocked by a very unfortunate incident in Kisumu following the arrest and mishandling of a lady trader by the city enforcement officers Wednesday morning. As investigations continue on this matter with the urgency it deserves, I have directed the city manager to immediately suspend from duty all the officers who were involved in this incident with immediate effect until the conclusion of the ongoing probe on the matter is done. In the meantime, all county enforcement officers must carry out their duties while fully respecting the human rights. Please underline that. The human rights of all Wananchi who should in turn respect city regulations and the rule of law. I will continue to update members of the public and our traders on this matter, even as I wish the injured lady a quick recovery. H.E. Professor Nyang' Nyong'o.
At least a good move from the county government.
I have nothing to say.
And there are estimated to be about 12 officers askaris who were involved in this particular case, not just the ones who were on board that pickup. So as this story continues to develop, we'll be giving you more stories in regards to that. But so many people just going out to say, Manze, why are we behaving as though we are in the colonial era? The culprits must be sacked. Thank you, Governor. Not just being suspended. Mwingine anasema, okay, let me get this. No, this is in regards to a different story. But actually, Kisumu has been trending since yesterday. You can get onto the socials and just see what people have to say in regards to this. Others just asking the governor to sack them, not even have any suspension is not nearly enough justice for this particular incident that was happening yesterday.
Now, Jane, we're also getting feedback on social media in regards to what I just shared about, the panda and everything else. And Skinny Dog on Instagram is asking, on your story, can you really slash someone with a panga?
Unakumbuka ile video ilikuwa ina do rounds on social media about a Meru wife material na kamashete.
I didn't
now
say
picture
it,
Regina there.
I didn't say it, they said it for me. And Tena, we talked about John Grisham's book. Thou shalt never get caught, the 11th commandment. Why would you want me to say to, this on air? Anyway,
the story that you gave, whichever way they want to interpret it.
But
what you do with that information
is entirely up to
my grandmother told me. My grandmother told me that whoever looks at your loved one with an evil eye is an enemy. She said looked. And this guy was not looking. He was actually driving towards the... Unataka nifanyeje?
Fire.
Tunakuelewa hapo.
Again,
repeat that. What did your grandmother say? Whoever
looks at your beloved with an evil eye
is an enemy.
Is an enemy.
Regardless.
She just said looked.
That I agree with.
Macho. Now this taxi guy wanted to maim my brother, little brother for that matter, who actually sat for his KCP yesterday. Yeah? And my mom. So as to sit pretty because...
Because you're pretty now, you sit pretty.
Watunguyas, I want us to move on to the next story, yeah? History ingine, but this story za leo sasa zimebaki ni about married people.
Unclaimed assets.
Unclaimed Assets Authority ndo mimi hapa.
Okay, let's go. Tuko na committee.
Tuanze na hii ya jana. Ilikuwa kwa gazeti Daily Nation. Nora Wasonga. She claims that she was never a wife to the man that is the father of her 4 children.
4 children?
Yes. In her words. Yeah, she says, and the said man is one George Odhiambo. She says that he was just a male companion whom she had kids with.
For a period of
11 years. She was not his wife because customary. She's from the Luo community. If you have not paid the bride price, you have not married her. And he had not done that. So over the years, she did meet another man, now deceased. He's called Eliakim Olweni. He passed away in 2016. And guy was swimming in shmoney. He was a multi-millionaire tycoon. He did pass away in 2016, and he had 3 wives, Nora being among them. So now they're in court trying to figure out how to divide the property. He had a vast estate. So this story came up in her trying to prove her legitimacy, her marriage to the late Eliakim, because he did pay her dowry, traditionally.
Let me make up my hair.
Who should go first?
It's gonna be...
Mimi nataka tuanze na Doreen. Regina Horera. Kusema tulie na Kimeru ni?
Etera.
Matters of... With this, the husband, they had dated for a year.
Tuanze na hiyo part ya kwanza D.
Yeah,
they were together 11 years.
Yes.
Hajalipa dowry, wako na watoto.
And actually, they had dated for a year before he asked her to marry her. Was it in 1991 thereabout?
Yes.
But anywho, matters of culture and traditions, which are very much applicable even up till now.
Customary marriages.
Why would you keep someone for that long? And even for you as a person, why would you choose to go to start complaining right now? I mean, 11 years, 4 kids. Na alikuwa tu companion.
Yeah, he was just a male companion whom she had children with.
For 11 years.
Yes. Hajalipa mahari. Na hawajafanya white
again,
wedding.
Also, actually, when you look at it in Western and Nyanza part of the country, these cultures, they are very much there. But then this person is actually not your wife until you've gone there. Because you see, the payment of dowry... Listen, the payment of dowry, haikuangi tu ati umelipia huyo msichana. It's all in a bid for these families to come together, to meet, to know each other. It's like a way of appreciation.
Yes.
You get? It's not, haikuangi tu ati, oh, tumekuja, tumelipa, tumepeana, now you've like bought the girl. It's always a way of appreciation. So it's such a dominant culture which still very much applies even up to now. So clearly this person is not really your wife. You just took her, you guys stayed together, or she just went to your house, mkaanza kuishi, ukazaa mtoto wa kwanza wa pili na mkaona, okay, why not, let's continue.
So you would support her in her claim that
very much.
He was just a male companion. This other guy came along, lipared my dowry, and I am
you are a companion. Because listen, Wamboi, I mean, if you and I are in a relationship, if you really want to make this thing official, you go to my parents. You tell them, let our families meet. If I decide to stay in your house, or if we decide to stay together, I mean, we are just doing that. We are staying.
I think he was still getting to know her 11 years later.
Please, come on.
Let me come to Ray. We will come to your concluding statements. Your closing remarks in a bit day.
I am
Ray,
wondering, where do I start?
Tuanze na part one. 11 years together, just a male companion. And then her argument that he hadn't legitimized their relationship traditionally, because maybe to her that's what mattered, as opposed to a white wedding. And here comes this other guy who paid her dowry. Unfortunately, he did pass away. Would you support her in her claim?
Wacha ngoja. Why are you people putting me on the spot? There's this
it's your opinion.
Wacha neni. There's a reason why I'm always at the middle when it comes to these conversations.
Atutaki fence conversations leo. Leo unaamua, do you support her argument?
And it's
not
your
like
opinion.
You support her actions, just her argument.
You know, I might be biased because I fall under the category of unclaimed assets. Are you aware?
It's okay. It is your opinion. No one will crucify you.
Sawa.
Simshamwambia mara sijui ngapi.
Aya. So we have 11 years of companionship.
Cohabiting.
Yes.
Let's use the words that the guy lady used.
Companionship.
4 kids down the line. Somewhere in that, person meets Nora, met the late Olmen, who went further, recognized her worth.
As a third wife, mind you.
Good word to use. Her worth. Ataki tries X.
Akalipa
mahari.
Hey, chacha nikae vizuri.
Sadly enough, the reason why we are here, it's because he passed on. May his soul continue resting in peace. This is the same lady who's been asked by the court, by the way, to produce photographs to show that she was indeed in a relationship with the late. So we'll still be following up on that as we focus on stories that are making headlines from the corridors of justice. So in as far as her claim, and that's the issue. We're not talking about her quest for inheritance for Olwen. Please do not get this mixed up. Her claim that
she was married.
She was married. We all know what the Constitution says, by the way, that if you live with a person for 6 months, consider them,
your wife.
Then we have another version. There's a Constitution. The law does not exist in ambiguity.
Yes. In a vacuum.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And it abhors a vacuum too. So customarily, and she went further and says, in my customs, she says hers, hakusema ya Jane, Regina, mi sijui hata yetu nasema ni about this, but yeah. So she says, I could have left at any point because mahari haikufika
kwa wazazi.
But tumezaa. Ajakata, tumezaa. But at some point in my life, I met this person, and in as far as her community, her family,
her traditions
are concerned, the late is considered more of a husband than the man she sired her 4 children with and lived with for 11 years. Munasema kanairo. Let me use that word because hapa tunasema mambo ya sinia na nani.
Person sharing.
Person sharing. So kulikuwa na mtu alikuwa na deluxe. Kuna mwenye alikuwa na all inclusive. Chagua yako yenye unataka. But I am in full support of Nora. Her statement for me is correct.
Yes.
And I'll go back to the words of Beyonce. What does Beyonce say?
If you like it, should have put a ring on it.
But there are people who put rings on it
and still
don't pay dowry. Now there becomes a problem.
Or engage you for 24 years.
Or they engage you. Remember last year we highlighted a story where the lady had been in a relationship for 24 years and the day she decided to just up and leave, the guy followed her on board a flight to propose after playing cat and mouse games for 24 years. We all know this other gender, they like referring to us as the other gender. The men will always... Now we are talking about the other gender. Likes to refer to us as, erratic, gold digging. Now
that's gender.
Where you're concerned, that other gender.
There's a new category.
The male gender. Which one is that?
Squeezy kuna Bitcoin diggers. Not
for
just
us.
gold diggers, yes.
It has
We
been
have
categorized.
upgraded to Bitcoin. Okay. Clearly, I need a
The
software
association
update.
came together and wakaona, if you are given a title, if you can't beat them, join them. So let us give you categories.
So now we
Pick
know
your
you
poison.
guys. We know you are fighting. You do not like commitment. Actually, a man would rather dodge for the rest of his life before he actually commits. But
Boys,
I like,
not men.
Oh yeah, now there is a category. This gender, our gender, we have also categorized you. There are men.
And there are boys.
Who step up and get counted. And then there are boys who like playing games.
How
you interpret that information
is up to you. Let's go to the next story.
Thank you.
Married couple from Nigeria. So, the man wants to divorce his wife. Why, you ask? He approached his wife, akamwambia, najua uko na kachama, unajua tule tupesa twa chama unaekanga kwa vikandro, inaitangwa mad money. Najua uko na tupesa mahali, siku nisaidie nimalize kujenga hii keja. Galdem akamwambia, hiyo si shida, ebu nione kwanza ownership documents za hii nyumba. Ziko na jina ya nani? Akaangalia, akatafuta jina yake, akakosa. Akamwambia nini? Mimi sikupei do yangu. Juu kwa nini? You haven't included my name on the ownership documents.
Kizungumkuti.
Mzee akakasirika. Galdem pia akakasirika, akasema nini? Nitanunua nyumba yangu mwenyewe.
Wait, these people are married?
Yes.
For how long?
I didn't get the number of years that they were married.
Okay, fine, but at least they are married.
Yes, they were married.
How?
And looking to build this house, but it was under the guys' names.
Hapo ndo shida inaanzia. If it's actually true they are married, legally in all the right ways,
Yes.
why would my name be missing?
You see, an aspect of law.
Listen.
We
okay.
have 4 minutes. Let me translate for someone. I was talking about property law and something else when it comes to divorce, marriage, la la la. So if you're a married couple, whatever you buy is considered that you have bought or purchased in trust of your spouse. That's what the law says.
They're the next in kin either way.
Swali mimi niko nalo kubwa kabisa. Where did this man get the guts? Alitoa wapi nguvu
ya kuitisha pesa?
Unaitisha pesa alafu pia you've not done due diligence. Where do you get the guts to do such? You thought this lady would not inquire as to the ownership of the house? Because there are women out here, who are feeding the men in their houses. There are women out here who are paying
rent.
the bills. Yeah? There are women who are out here are taking loans, buying vehicles, but pale nje, when the other gender meets, anasema hii nyumba nilijenga, hata hii gari ni yangu. But we all know you.
Who's the financer?
We know. So
Woman.
please, if unapata nguvu ya kuitisha pesa,
pata nguvu yako kajina yake.
Guy, do the due diligence.
Aya, D, very briefly.
And that's
we have
when
a
nilianza na
minute to
kusema hapo ndo shida inaanzia. Why would if we are married, that means we are a union. Why would my name be missing there? And then you have the audacity to come and ask for money. Because if you are asking my money, it means now it is ours. We're doing it together. So why, why? Why would the name be missing there? So ukiona wanawake wanafanya vitu zao separate sometimes.
Muhemo.
It could be.
As we close these conversations, we're living in a time where people are being gifted lands, cars, houses. When you're getting that gift, check details kwa documents, official documents. Kama ni gari, haiko kwa jina yako, itariposesiwa. Whether you're a lady or a dude, make sure ownership is under your name.
Yes.
If it's not, it's a scam. On that note, we want to say thank you for staying with us this far. This has been Good Morning Kenya. Magalden here representing. Be sure to join us again next week right here for another dope week of Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wamboi. She is Ray Manyara. And the beautiful lady at the end is Doreen Arange. Unclaimed assets hapo katikati. See you next week. Have a lovely day, guys.
Karada Kanairu.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
It's very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit, live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. Next.
Hizo haki za barabara ambazo Muislamu anafaa kuzingatia kila wakati anapokuwa barabarani. Na mojawapo ya haki hizi ni kuwa Muislamu anapaswa kuondoa udhia barabarani, kwa sababu ukiondoa udhia barabarani, insha Allah unajijengea nyumba yako katika pepo ya Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Next on.
Watu wameenda pale, wameamka asubuhi, wamepanga foleni vizuri.
Watu wako wengi. Nilikuwa nakwambia uje mapema. Hakuna haja tupange line si wote. Wewe tu nilipia alafu utaleta huko tapatana huko kwa ofisi. Kuna nusu. Acha nihudumiwe nimaliziwe niende.
Unamaliziwa na ngoja unamaliziwa kwani si pia hataki kumaliziwa.
Yaani uko hapo? Yaani kwenye line. Sasa hii ni maneno gani tena? Ni nini inaendelea hapa? Ama line inaanzia huko pia mimi niende nikasimama huko nyuma.
Wewe mzee hapana bwana. Unajua wengine tumepanda mabasi.
Kwa hakika hii ni tabia ambayo inaudhi sana.
Yo, muliitisha mtu wangu na tukawapatia.
Mwenzako I feel so good, pindi nikikuona.
Top Mashariki, mpango mzima, kipindi ambacho kinakupatia burudani katika kanda Afrika Mashariki. Ukiwa na mie Munyi Kazungu hapa, nite kaka mkubwa na kuletea mahanja. Ungana na mimi Munyi Mtetezi Kazungu kila siku ya Ijumaa kuanzia mida saa 4 usiku. Top Mashariki freestyle au sio ni take over.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I was not content. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Even admitting that is risky. But I wanted more. And the more I got, the more I started to decay.
12-year-old Tamir Rice was shot and killed by police in Ohio in 2014.
I am giving my grandson, who is now of driving age, the talk of how to properly behave if pulled over by police.
I lost a lot of tears, went through depression, anxiety, struggled in my marriage, substance abuse. So many different things happened during that time period that just brought me to a low place.
The memo read the message, found my purpose, found my method. Only all I took was lessons. Tell them.
Mbio yangu nilianza mwaka wa 2016. Nilikimbia youth yenye ilikuwa world Kenya. Nilikimbia nikafika final ya mita 100. Toka final niliingia namba 7. Lakini so far naona fanya nimetrain mazoezi hata kama nimetrain mwezi mmoja si mbaya sana. Chuchusi tulikimbia iturayo yenye ilikuwa astia siku kwa sasa fanya training ya miezi 7 kumaliza nikapata wameshakimbia ya World Junior. Sasa sikukimbia East Africa na hii ya Junior, hii ya youth nimepresent. Nimekimbia high school, nimekimbia nje, nimekimbia Afrika miaka 2 ya kwa 2016 na 2017. Sorry, 2018.